Welcome to today's workshop on Experience Matters, the ultimate guide to gaining experience. I am here with a couple of my colleagues. So just to introduce ourselves briefly, my name is Dorothy Baumgartner, and I am a career advisor here at WGU. And my colleague on my team, Christy Graham, is also a career advisor, and she's here, and she's going to be helping to monitor the chat and providing some of the links that we talk about. And Addison, I'll let you introduce yourself.
Yes, thank you, Dorothy. My name is Addison, and I am Addison Welsh. I am the Internship and Experiential Learning Manager here at WGU. I'm really looking forward to sharing more about experiential learning with all of you.
I want to do just a couple of housekeeping things. One is that we just recognize that everybody's got different learning styles and things going on in your lives. So please feel free to step away and stretch or take care of whatever you need to take care of. Because as you heard, we are recording this and we will be sending a link to this recording out after the system processes it. So you'll be able to review anything that you missed if you need to step away. Although I do want to recommend that you do take note of that email in the third box there, careers@wgu.edu. That's our team email, and that's a great way to get in touch with us if you think of another question after we're done with the workshop today or something on a different career topic. Please feel free to reach out to us through that email. Christy popped it in the chat so you can grab that. And then just final note here is that we are not monitoring the Q&A panel in this workshop. So if you post something there, we're likely not to see it. So please do use the chat. We'll be taking questions as we go along and do our best to answer them then as we go along, but we will also leave some time at the end for questions if they come up later. So with that, just a quick look at our agenda. Coming up, we are going to be spending a fair amount of time on internships. Addison brings a wealth of information about internships with her, so she's going to walk us through that process and covering things like different kinds of internships, when to apply for them, what are the benefits of completing an internship, how do you find opportunities. So you'll have access to all of that as we go through this workshop. And then we will also discover a variety of other kinds of experiential learning opportunities to gain experience, what the benefits of those are, how you can find them, and some variety of ways for you to get some additional experience beyond internships. And they'll have some questions at the end too, if you've got those. So either, again, feel free to pop them in the chat or save them up till the end. And with that, we're going to jump into internships.
Thank you so much, Dorothy, and thank you all so much for joining today. So first, as Dorothy mentioned, we are going to dive into internships. And so an internship is a professional learning experience where typically maybe you want to gain experience or develop your skill set. And usually that's going to be related to your academic or career interest. And so when it comes to the benefits of completing an internship, there are so many. Just to name a few, as I mentioned, gaining experience as well as skills that are necessary for the career path that you want to pursue. It's an excellent opportunity. We'll talk about this a lot, but networking, being able to actually network with people within that industry is absolutely crucial to your overall career progress and for you to be able to excel in that industry. You also have the opportunity to apply knowledge, whether that's from your WGU coursework or potentially maybe from other professional experiences that you've had, maybe other jobs that you've had. You'll also be able to solidify your career path. This is probably my most favorite. I think I've shared before, I was actually in my senior year of my last semester of college, and I did an internship and realized, my goodness, I had just majored in the wrong thing. And so it's a really great opportunity for you to figure out what you would like to do, but also potentially maybe what you don't want to do. And then finally, another great benefit is the ability to potentially transition into a full-time role with that company. And so we often get students that ask, should I complete an internship? And so here are just some stats to kind of help you demonstrate, the importance of completing an internship. And so 58% of all internships are actually, they transition into full-time roles with that company. Last year in 2023, 4.1 million internships were posted by employers across the United States. 59% of those internships were paid. And just within Handshake itself, which you have access to as a WGU student, there were 23,000 internships posted. And so there are lots and lots of opportunities out there. And so when it comes to who benefits from completing an internship, truly, if you're a career beginner, a career changer, or potentially career curious, that's quite a mouthful there, or career uncertain, if you will, this is an excellent opportunity for you. And so when it comes to completing an internship, we often get that asked that as well. For a career beginner, it's really going to be helpful if your main goal is to gain experience from that internship opportunity. It may be beneficial to complete it maybe towards the end of your program. And the reason being is maybe you don't already have a lot of professional experience. Let's say, for instance, you're studying cybersecurity, you're looking for, a job in the cybersecurity field. If you don't have any foundational knowledge of cybersecurity, it's probably best to wait until the end of your program just so that you have a little bit more of that background knowledge. However, if you already have experience in that, you could go ahead and complete that internship at any time during your program. For those that are transitioning from one career into another, or potentially a different industry, and the intention behind getting an internship is to gain skills specific to that industry in order to transition your career, it could truly be at any point in your program. If you plan to stay, let's say, for instance, you plan to stay in the industry that you're already in, you could complete that in the middle of your program, at the end of your program, or if you want to go ahead and start to transition into that new industry, I will go ahead and do that internship as soon as you can. For those that are career curious or career uncertain, which I think I've fallen into this category many times in my own career, and you want to identify or solidify your career path, I would say that the best time is usually towards the beginning or the middle of your program. And the reason for that is that if, for instance, let's say you're studying accounting and you do an accounting internship at the beginning of your program and you realize this is not the path I want to take, you still have the ability to go back and change that academic program. You haven't completed so many credits that you're kind of stuck. And so again, for those that aren't certain, completing it as quickly as you can, towards the beginning or middle of your program, it's going to help you take advantage of that internship opportunity. And so in terms of the types of internships that are available. So a traditional internship is typically going to be a few months in duration. A micro internship, which we are going to walk through here in a little bit more in depth in a few slides. Usually our short-term projects can be anywhere from between 10 and 40 hours. An international internship can be with an international company where you actually go to that international, what the other country where the company is located and complete that internship on site. Or maybe you intern for an international company and it's a remote opportunity and you do so in the comfort of your own home. And so they're also, as I mentioned, on site. So that's when you actually go to the company's office and complete the internship there. Remote or virtual is going to be where you complete that at home. And usually that company is going to be able to provide you with the systems and resources that you need in order to complete the internship. And then finally, paid or unpaid, which is pretty straightforward. I will say though that in terms of paid and unpaid internships, WGU really encourages their students to complete paid internships. In fact, we only post paid internship opportunities on Handshake. And the reason for that is that an unpaid internship opportunity can be a really big financial burden. Being able to take that time away from, potentially other financial obligations can be really detrimental. And so we really encourage you to take advantage of those paid opportunities. And there are many of them. And so when it comes to considering, should I complete an internship? This sounds like a pretty good opportunity, but is it the right one for me? Here are just some things that you might want to contemplate as you move forward. And so if you're looking to gain work experience in a specific industry or maybe even a specific company, and you want to develop your skill set while also being able to expand your professional network within that industry, this is a great option for you. A couple things to really consider though is, do you have the availability in terms of your schedule to be able to do that? If you have a family and you're working full time and you're going to school full time, can you realistically fit an internship in there, or is it something that maybe next year you would be able to have a little bit more time in order to do so? Financial flexibility is also something to consider. Whilst a lot of internships are paid, they typically aren't going to pay quite as much as a full-time role. And so that's definitely something you want to take into consideration. And then finally, making sure that you even have the capacity or the bandwidth to complete the applications. Sometimes students ask us, what company can I apply to that is really, really easy to complete the application. I can quickly get an internship. And honestly, it's pretty similar to finding a job. You have to put the time forward. And so making sure that you have the time to dedicate to applying and finding those opportunities is going to be important as well. When it comes to finding an internship, my goodness, at the last Career Quest, I was excited to share that we were so close to having the Student Experiential Learning Handbook completed, but we've kind of had some hiccups, and I'm just about ready to share that out with everyone. But it has a lot of different resources, not only about internships, but other experiential learning opportunities. And I'm hoping we'll have that out and on the website here in the next few weeks. So there are some internship websites, and Christy, I think that we might throw some of those in here when we get to the internship search engines. We also have Handshake that we've spoken about a bit. LinkedIn and Indeed are two other great resources for you too. Sometimes some companies may not post on Handshake, they may not post on these other internship search engines, so LinkedIn and Indeed are two great resources as well. We have internship search engines. So these are just a variety of different websites that help you find internship opportunities across a variety of industries. Another opportunity I think that a lot of people might overlook is actually considering an internship with your current employer. And so what this might look like is, let's say, for instance, you are working in IT and you have decided that you want to move into marketing. Is there a possibility that your current employer would allow you to complete an internship, work a few hours per week with that marketing department so that you can gain experience? And for those employers that don't already have an internship program, I am in the process of completing a experiential learning guide for employers that helps guide them through being able to develop those opportunities for their employees. And so more to come on that as well. And then finally, your network. This is a really, really big one. I think for myself, I can say that a lot of the opportunities I've found in my career have been because of my network. And so be sure to share with your network that you are looking for an internship, whether that's posting it on LinkedIn, sharing with, the server at your restaurant that maybe you often go to. Yeah, I'm looking for an internship. You never know the connections that you might make from your network. And so be sure to be really vocal that you are looking for an internship. And so you have decided, yes, I meet all the considerations. I am so excited. I'm ready to apply for an internship. What do I do next? So really the first step, just kind of like thinking about your career goals, is really identifying what goals do you want to achieve with this internship. Do you want to intern in a certain industry? Do you want to intern with a certain company? What skills do you want to develop? What type of experience do you need in order to be able to apply for a job in that industry? All of those types of things are going to be really important to consider, because the more that you identify what you want to get out of the internship, the better internship experience you're going to have, because it's going to meet those goals. Next, you're going to want to make sure you update your resume, LinkedIn. You may want to have a cover letter ready. It's not very common to get a lot of internships that require internship applications that require cover letters, but it's always better to be prepared. Same with being ready for an interview. And we here at the Career and Professional Development are more than happy to help you with that. And then once you have all those documents all set, we also have, start that internship search. Like we said, there's a lot of different resources available to you to be able to find those internships, in addition to being able to network with your, everyone that you might know, whether that's social media, people that you know, friends and family that you know along the way. Be sure to share that out. And then you're going to begin applying for those internships. And so this may take a few months, just like applying for a job. Make sure that you take into consideration that it may take you a little bit. And then once you finally hopefully get to accept that internship opportunity, you want to make sure that you add that to your resume or your LinkedIn. So let's say you've accepted an internship. How can you make the most of it? I have actually spoken with many people who say, well, I didn't quite get a lot out of my internship experience. And so it's really important to consider this. If you have certain skills that you want to gain, maybe you want to get better at Excel, be sure to share that with your site supervisor. The more information that you share, the better they're going to be able to support you. In addition to that, really understanding the expectations from the employer. Do you have a certain schedule that you need to abide by? Are there going to be one-on-ones? What kind of expectations do they have for your performance? These are all really important things that you want to take into consideration, and that you want to be sure that you and your employer are on the same page. It goes without saying, want to make sure you're professional. Even if you're working in a remote internship, it's probably better not to wear your pajamas, but being professional in your interactions as well as your dress is going to be really important, because that is part of your professional brand. Being receptive to feedback and asking for feedback is also going to be essential, and asking questions. There may be times that you are asked to do things that you're uncertain as to how to do them. if you ask questions, it's better than making a huge mistake down the road, right? And this is a learning experience, and the employer is very aware of that. And so it's best to ask those questions. And then finally, having a positive attitude is always going to be great. And then a few others, just in terms of making sure, as you can see, there's a lot, making sure that your experience is great. Make sure you network, whether that is, if you're on site or if you're virtual, asking, some of the folks that might work in your department, hey, do you have 15 minutes to grab a cup of coffee or a virtual cup of coffee? Expanding your network. This is an excellent opportunity to learn from those around you. Be sure to treat it like a real job. I think a lot of times people might think that, oh, it's just an internship, but this internship could become a real job. And so make sure that you treat it as one. And I think being flexible is really, really important as well, because you're likely going to be asked to do things that may be outside of the tasks or responsibilities that were initially assigned to you. And so being flexible and being able to try new things and asking questions along the way is going to be excellent for your development. You may want to find a mentor during your internship. Maybe there's someone who seems really, really helpful, always willing to answer your questions, or maybe it's someone in another department. Finding a mentor can really help you, and again, in your professional development too. And then finally, challenge yourself. Again, this is a learning experience. So if you're going to go in and just do the things you already know how to do, you're not going to get as much out of that internship as if you try things that maybe you haven't done before. So as you can see, lots of different ways that you can make the most out of that internship experience. As I mentioned before, we were going to discuss the micro internships with Parker Dewey. So for students who maybe you think, I would love to do an internship, but I simply don't have the time, this might be an excellent opportunity for you. And so we have partnered with Parker Dewey, and they offer short-term projects. Typically, they're anywhere between 10 to 40 hours a week. They are paid and virtual and across a variety of industries. Everything from marketing to data analysis to content creation and everything in between. Lots and lots of different opportunities. And it's a great chance for you to be able to gain those skills and experience that you need to excel in your career. And so we often hear from our students, I've applied to so many different micro internships and I'm not getting any bites. We understand. And so with this, I spoke with Parker Dewey to help understand how we can help you all succeed. And so typically for a student to get selected for a micro internship, they're usually applying to about 10 to 15 micro internships or projects. So it does take a little bit of time. We really want to make sure when you start your account, you actually complete a profile, and you can go back and edit it as well. But make sure that you complete that profile in its entirety. Be really thorough in those responses. Make sure you have an updated resume on file, because those are going to be two crucial components that the employers use in order to determine whether or not to select you. And with that, when you actually go in and click into the different micro internships, you'll see that there are specific application questions. Usually there's just a handful, maybe up to 3, but every single one of them that I've seen have always asked, why should we pick you? Why are you a good fit for this position or this project? Make sure that you are really clear in understanding how your skills can translate to that opportunity. If you aren't sure, you've applied to 5 to 10 projects, you're still not getting any bites and you're not sure what's going on, Parker Dewey does offer drop-in review sessions, both to review your profile as well as your application responses. And they can kind of help guide you and help you understand ways that you can improve. Are we doing okay on the chat? Anything we need to respond in there?
One of the links is actually not secure, the U-turn. That's pretty much it.
Okay. It's funny. I removed that on the other one. Thank you Christy for mentioning that.
Yeah, and then the William just said working as intended. So that's no questions.
Okay, perfect. All right. So when it comes to micro internships, like I said, is this a good opportunity for you? And so if you are looking to develop a specific skill set, because these are short-term projects, you're probably not going to be able to use a plethora of skills. You're going to focus probably on just, a few. If that's what you're after and you really need to develop a specific skill set for a career path, that's going to be the best option for you. If you're looking for short-term experiences because you can't commit to something that's, a few months in length, micro internships are a great opportunity for you. Financial flexibility. This is certainly not going to be something that's going to replace the full-time job. Usually they're about $20 an hour for these opportunities. But again, since they are so short-term, it's not going to be something that's going to have long-term, not going to support you long-term. One of the really important things, as we kind of talked about, is you need to apply consistently. That is going to take a little bit of time. They actually post different micro internships every single day. And because there are so many different students across the United States applying for them, sometimes they only have these opportunities available for a few hours. And so make sure that you're checking back and applying to those different opportunities that you might be interested in. And then, one final consideration for this is that usually you're going to be doing this project on your own. Usually it's very autonomous. And so you're going to have limited networking opportunities. And so if that's something that you really want to get out of your experiential learning opportunity, that is something to take into consideration. And so with that, Dorothy, I'm going to hand it back to you.
All right. Thanks, Addison. So next we're going to talk about other types of ways to gain experience beyond internships, and those are experiential learning opportunities. So what is this? It's really the process of learning by doing and applying those theoretical concepts that you've been learning in the classroom into a hands-on environment. So you may have had an experience where someone shows you or tells you how to do something, but then when you have a chance to do it by yourself, you learn that you find that you learn that task much more quickly. That's experiential learning. So it's applying the knowledge that you've learned in the classroom and then learning by doing. So what kinds of experiential learning opportunities are available? There are a lot. Today we are going to do kind of a brief overview of several of them. Volunteering, which a lot of people don't think about when they're thinking about experiential learning, apprenticeships, simulation study abroad, and virtual study abroad. There are also others that we're not covering today, but just to give you a sense that there's additional opportunities out there that are maybe a little less common, also available to your service learning and fellowships. In the guide that you are sharing eventually, that's coming out soon, Addison, those opportunities are covered in that guide. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay. So when that comes out, and just a note, I think if I remember correctly, excuse me, Addison, you're going to also send an email to people who have internships flagged on their Handshake profile. So if you want first crack at that guide when it comes out, be sure that your internships toggle is flagged in Handshake. So let's jump into some of these opportunities. Volunteering is one that I love to talk about because it's one that we don't often think about. And what is it actually? Well, you're supporting an organization that you have some interest in by donating your time and your effort. So it's typically for something philanthropic or for a community issue, a community cause that you care about. You can gain experience, but an sort of tapped piece of this, you've heard Addison talk about networking. Volunteering can be a great networking opportunity. And so just as a pitch for volunteering, even if it's not something that's directly in the skill set that you're trying to learn in terms of gaining experience, you might be working in a soup kitchen and slopping mac and cheese and the person next to you serving salad and they're a pathway to your next opportunity. So volunteering has lots of benefits, not just gaining skills and experience, but the networking potential is great. Plus you are contributing to a cause that you care about and in your own personal philanthropy. So some of the considerations that you want to think about in terms of volunteering is what kind of experience can you gain? This may be a little bit more limited in scope because you're really just supporting whatever an organization needs as a volunteer, but you may be able to gain some skills and experiences here. It is also a great opportunity to really explore different career fields or niches in your career field if you want to get out there and find out what it's really like getting your hands on some of that work. Networking again. Another consideration that you want to be thinking about is your scheduling availability and when they need you, and does that fit with all of the other obligations that you've got in life? And then what level of desire do you have to contribute to a cause? Is that sort of a meh thing, or it's like I really care about whatever this cause is? And that can create a powerful motivation for you to be involved in that. Another consideration, Addison, mentioned before, and some of the previous things, that the financial flexibility issue is something you want to take into consideration in terms of the amount of time that you're going to contribute to this volunteering, if you are able to do that in terms of your own financial situation. How do you find volunteering jobs? Well, there's this list here. We are going to provide those. I think Chrissy will pop in the chat. We'll also be including these again in that follow-up email that you'll be getting. All of these are, mostly national organizations, and they have great volunteering opportunities. And in addition, think about local places that might be really easy to get a hold of. You in March of Dimes of Volunteers of America and those kinds of organizations may have local chapters that you can be involved in. But schools, public schools can be a great place to gain experience and contribute some of your time. Hospitals may have volunteer opportunities. Local libraries may be a niche that you may be interested in, especially community-focused nonprofits like soup kitchens, Meals on Wheels, and those kinds of things. And faith-based organizations are also another place to look for good opportunities to contribute time and gain some additional skills. Nonprofits are often looking for additional help, so those are good places to go. All right, we're going to move back then to simulations, and Addison is going to share some really interesting information about simulations.
Thank you, Dorothy. Thank you for the information on volunteering. I was going to add too, I think that oftentimes, as Dorothy mentioned, it is often overlooked. If you, for instance, a lot of students that come into, our School of Education, they have actually not stepped into a classroom before. And so if you are considering, maybe becoming a teacher, there are so many opportunities for you to go out and get that experience in a classroom and see if it's the right fit for you. I think in the world of technology, a lot of students, I know that our School of Tech, a lot of students say, how do I get this job if I don't have experience? And oftentimes, especially for technology, it's being able to actually do the work as opposed to how you did it. So what I mean by that is if you volunteered to fix someone's, networking or programming or whatever it might be, you still did that activity. It's not so much, it doesn't matter so much that it was a volunteer, but you were able to do it and you can demonstrate that you have those skills. And so volunteering is a really great way just to continue to solidify those skill sets. So just wanted to add that on. Perfect. So simulations. So simulations are real world scenarios that are in a controlled environment. So for instance, they might mimic the actual real life or daily work that might be in a company. And so the benefits include that, you're going to gain and solidify your skill set. It's pretty low level of commitment. And what I mean by that is, you can usually pop in and out of the simulation as you have time. There's not going to be a set schedule. And also you can receive a certificate when you've completed the simulation. And so you can add those to your LinkedIn or your resume. And so today we're going to talk through just two. So two simulations. And so my Sumo isn't quite a simulation, but it is the ability to be able to really go through and actually test out your skills. And so it is a website, has all these different types of competitions. And so like, for instance, there's one that's like, what's the next flavor of Hidden Valley Ranch? Or how can Taco Bell make their frozen food section more enticing to consumers? And so there are these different type of competitions that you can go and enter your ideas of how you would approach this, and you can win. Sometimes they're up to like $1,000, $1,200 if your idea is selected. And so that's one way. So it's just mindsumo.com. You also might find forage.com. This is one that we've also partnered with. And so one of the really great things that I appreciate about Forage, and we'll talk about them here a little bit more in depth. I have looked at other platforms that offer simulations. And one of the great things about Forage is that they actually offer you simulations with real companies. Sometimes you might see simulations through a company like called Stukent. This might be actually integrated into your coursework here at WGU, but those aren't based off of actual companies. And so that's one of the really neat things that we'll chat through with Forage. And so Forage, basically, you can go in and complete, there are simulations across so many different industries, and you can go through and select, I want to do it in tech or marketing, whatever it might be, and then they give you a list of the different types of simulations. I think there's over 200 to 300, so there's quite a variety. And by completing these simulations, you're really demonstrating your commitment to learning and dedication to continuing to grow your skill set. It's a great opportunity as well. Like, let's say, for instance, I know that, a few of the companies on there, just off the top of my head, Pepsi, Walmart, JP Morgan, I think Deloitte's on there, Lululemon. There are so many different opportunities with these, or different simulations with these companies. A lot of Fortune 500 companies, but it's going to allow you an opportunity to kind of get a behind the scenes look at maybe their organizational culture or the systems that they use. And so when it comes to interviewing or preparing for that job application, you're going to already have a little bit of knowledge about that company. And so because of that, you're actually twice as likely, and this is data that comes from employers, not actually from Forage, but candidates that complete the internships, or excuse me, the simulations all the way through, you're twice as likely to receive an goodness gracious, an interview offer, or 4 times as likely to receive a job offer. And that is, again, you're able to use that knowledge that you gain from the simulation in your interview. I'm getting internship and interview just all turned around. And so it's a really valuable experience for you to use these simulations to advance in your career. And so when it comes to things that you consider, if you want to complete a simulation, it's going to be really, really industry and company specific in terms of your skill development. If they're asking you to create like a marketing campaign, it's going to be based off of, backgrounds that they want you to consider. All right. It's great for busy students that maybe you don't have the time to be able to dedicate to a micro internship or an internship or volunteering, because you're able to kind of pick it up. You can pick it up as you need, and log back in when you have a chance to do some more work. There's no application, so you don't have to worry about applying, and it's also free, which is really great. A couple things though, just to take into consideration with these simulations is that you're not going to have the opportunity really to network with other colleagues or other people that work in that company, and they are unpaid. But you do, especially when you complete a Forage simulation, they actually show you how to integrate that information on your resume, and they also have a certificate that you can include on your LinkedIn. So that is Forage. And I think there is a 5-minute demonstration video of Forage that Christy put together that's absolutely fabulous, if you want to go take a look at that. And then we also did a Career Quest presentation with Forage that's much longer in length. Forgive me here, talking too much. Next, we are going to chat through apprenticeships. An apprenticeship is basically going to be training for a specific trade or profession. And so this is something that's actually really growing in popularity, and it's starting to expand across a variety of industries. And so when it comes to the benefits, oftentimes, actually most of the time, it's going to lead to a full-time role. Usually they're going to be about 1 to 6 years in length, and so that's definitely something to think about. They're usually paid. Like I said, you're going to gain those really industry-specific skills, and it's going to help you determine, is this the path that I want to take forward? In terms of finding apprenticeships, here are lots of different resources for you. Apprenticeship.gov is an excellent resource. This is actually from the federal government. They offer apprenticeships across a variety of industries, and so be sure to check that out. The next 4 are actually in the IT industry or in the tech industries. And so some of these are open year round. Sometimes they have specific application periods, and so be sure to check it out. They have, there are some marketing and sales apprenticeships through those 4 as well. So if you have any interest in those, be sure to check them out. And then there are trade and labor unions. Maybe your local trade or labor union may be aware of apprenticeships opportunities as well. Excuse me. All right. In terms of things that you consider when you're thinking, maybe I want to do an internship. It's really important that you do know that this is the path you want to take, because you can't really jump back and forth between apprenticeships, because this is a commitment. And like I said, that commitment is for 1 to 6 years. And so that's something really important to consider. It is paid. In terms of pay for these apprenticeship opportunities, it's obviously going to depend on the company. It's a great, great, great opportunity to expand your professional network, because you're going to be working alongside people who are in that industry while you're developing your skill set. You'll be able to transition into a full-time role when you complete the apprenticeship. There is going to be an application process, and so that's something that you definitely want to take an account for. And then typically these are going to be in person. And so I am in the process of putting together a lot more resources about apprenticeships. Like I said, this is something that is really growing in popularity as you kind of combine, how can we take what students learn from their academic program and actually put that into real life experience so that they can gain that professional knowledge. And so more to come on this, but it's kind of exciting. Check out that apprenticeships.gov, great website. They've got stuff in sales, construction, all sorts of different industries. Next, we're going to kind of shift gears completely and chat about study abroad. And so studying abroad is being able to study at an academic institution overseas. And so the great benefits about this is, especially if you're going to a country where English is not their first language, or whatever your first language is, you're gonna be able to gain that language proficiency. You're also gonna gain your intercultural competency, being able to work effectively with people from different cultures, races, religions, ethnicities, while also gaining academic credit. So it's really, really important to soft skill development. And so in terms of finding different study abroad opportunities, these first three, goabroad.com, educations.com, and gooverseas.com, are essentially like search engines for study abroad. And great place to look for, just a variety of opportunities. I think when it comes to study abroad, you can do everything from a semester to a few weeks to a summer. There's tons of different opportunities available. And so when it comes to studying abroad, a lot of some institutions have, basically they're called exchanges. And what that means is, let's say a student at the University of Colorado wants to go to the University of Sevilla and they have a partnership, the students just kind of swap places. Since WGU is an online institution, we don't have that. It's not something that's very typical for online institutions. And so that leaves us with, checking out those search engines or looking at third-party providers. And I realize this is like alphabet soup here, but these are all really, really great companies that have been offering study abroad programs for a very long time. I used to work in this industry and can definitely attest to all of them. And so you can check out their websites. If you decide, what, I am actually, I really want to go to the University of Edinburgh in Scotland, I think I can direct enroll. They speak English. You can do that as well. So similar to how you applied here at WGU, you can directly apply with an institution overseas. And so in considering things that, you're thinking about studying abroad, but just some thoughts for consideration, it's great for your soft skill development, which is essential. Employers really, really find that, soft skill development, whether that's critical thinking, problem solving, communication, all of those types of things are going to be really important for your overall career. It's great for language acquisition. In terms of finances, study abroad can be expensive depending on the type of program that you go on, as well as the length. And that's something that you have to consider as well, because you are going to be living in another country too, which it may be less expensive than here in the United States. You also have the opportunity to gain academic credit towards your program, but you do have to make sure that those classes that you take overseas are going to fit within your program here at WGU or where you may be studying. Two things that you can actually do while you're studying abroad is actually complete an internship or participate in different volunteer opportunities, further gaining more experience for your career. And let's say, for instance, you say, oh, I'd love to study abroad, but that's just, I can't do that, virtual study abroad is an excellent opportunity for you. And so these are going to be all online. Typically, they're going to be with international instructors. So maybe, for instance, you take a marketing class or graphic design or whatever it might be, and you actually have an instructor from France that teaches it. And so just an opportunity to be able to see, how marketing is perceived across different cultures or languages. And usually at the end of these types of opportunities, you can either travel to that specific country where you completed that virtual study abroad opportunity, or you can do an internship as well. And so in terms of the benefits for virtual study abroad, it's very cost effective. It's going to be less expensive than it is for study abroad, still getting that international experience and still getting that soft skill development as well. And so in terms of opportunities, there's not quite as many opportunities as study abroad. Virtual study abroad really actually kind of came as a product of COVID. This wasn't something that was very popular until COVID happened, because I don't know if you remember, but there wasn't a lot of traveling happening during that time. And so you can check out gooverseas.com. They've got a filter there where you can click virtual, or you can go through any of these other third-party providers. And most of these are going to be internships. And I will be very, very open and honest that these opportunities, these virtual study abroad opportunities, are probably not going to be paid. You might have to actually pay to participate. And the reason being is that company is facilitating, finding you an internship, making sure that you have everything that you need, and creating an introduction with that employer. And so things to consider, if you're thinking that virtual study abroad might be a great opportunity for you, it's great to gain that professional experience and the soft skill development to help you contribute just to your overall development. Language acquisition, if you are set on, I really want to solidify my Spanish speaking skills, this is an excellent, excellent opportunity for you. It's going to be remote, so you can do it in the comfort of your own office or living room. They are unpaid, so this is something, like I said, too, it's probably not even so much that it's unpaid, but you also may have to pay for this experience. But it is an international experience, which I find very, very beneficial. And so we're just about there. Final question here is like, when should I complete an experiential learning opportunity? And really, it depends on you. And I realize it's a very ambiguous answer, but I think it kind of depends on what you're looking for. Let's say, for instance, you're looking to gain experience, but you'd love to volunteer, but you simply don't have the time to do so in your program right now. Maybe you do that in a year when you have a little bit more flexibility, and in the meantime, you complete some simulations. It really kind of depends on looking at all those considerations of those different opportunities that you might have, and determining what is really best for you. And I think with that, Dorothy, I'm going to hand it back to you.
All right. So there's lots and lots of research that says if you create a goal and write it, and especially if you share it with others, you are more likely to achieve it. So you may be digesting a lot of information from what Addison and I have talked about today, and may not be ready to commit to a virtual, or excuse me, a gaining experience or an internship kind of a pathway. But out of what you heard today, we want to invite you to think about an action step that might move you closer, move you forward to engaging in one of these opportunities that we've shared with you today. So we're going to take a minute. I'm just going to be quiet, let you think for a minute, and want to invite you to think about what you'd like to do in terms of an action step, and it may just be about learning or exploring some of the sites that we've been sharing here. It may be actually digging into Forge, or might be digging into Parker Dewey for some of those experiences. But to just think about something that you will commit to yourself to doing in the next week to move you forward in these opportunities, and would love to hear in the chat if you're willing to share. That's going to go away. It's not available to anybody, but it's an opportunity for you to stick it out there in front of other people, hopefully further reinforcing that commitment to yourself. One thing you want to do in the next week. All right, we've got some things coming in the chat. Already set up an account with Parker Dewey. Look at opportunities and apply to 10 of them by Friday. That is specific and concrete. Great. I bet you're going to achieve that. Set up accounts with Forage. Did I miss anything? That's good. Forage is a fun site. Interested in simulations. Complete second Forage job simulation with JP Morgan Chase. Already set up an account? Simulations sound pretty popular today, don't they? And a comment that one of you got experience with a hackathon that WGU hosted with the Women in Tech Club last year. Yep, that's a great organization as well. If you haven't connected with them and you're in tech, be sure you check that out. They do some great things.
Dorothy, I was going to share too. This is just really the beginning of experiential learning here at WGU, and it is my intention to find so many more opportunities for all of you. And so even just mentioning the hackathon, I'm actually putting together right now some resources, starting with the School of Technology, so that students, whether they're in cybersecurity or programming, can find ways to gain more experience. And so it's really kind of by school. And so that will be coming out as well, probably later this year. And so be sure to keep an eye out. So all that to say, lots more opportunities coming your way. So be sure to take a look at the CPD website too.
Great call out. Thanks, Addison.
And I love this. I love, love, love the commitment. This is wonderful.
Yep, that's great. All right, thanks everybody. We want to make sure we've got space. Well, first of all, make sure you know how to get in touch with us. There is our website there. If you haven't encountered that yet, there are a lot of great resources there. Again, our team email that I mentioned, and we lost the slide. But the other thing that's on there is we have a message line, and I don't know, Christy, if you can find and grab that quickly and drop it in the chat. That's another great way for you to get in touch with us for quick questions. And essentially, you it's an opportunity for you to leave a message, and we, encourage you to leave as specific a message as possible. That way we know how to best help you. And our commitment is to try to get back to you within 4 business hours, as long as you leave a message by 2 p.m. Mountain Time. Otherwise, it'll probably be the next day. But that's also a great way to get in touch with us. Did I miss anything?
I don't think so.
Survey.
Forgive me for
The survey. I just popped it in the chat.
Thank you, Christy. Go ahead.
Yeah, so we would love to hear from you. We'd love to hear what you thought of our workshop, and also what other workshops you'd like to see, CPD. So go ahead and click on the link. I think that this will take you to the landing page once the presentation is over as well.
Yep. And just a reminder, you will be receiving an email with a copy of a link to the recording of this workshop and links to the things that were shared in the chat. So that will be coming your way maybe later this afternoon, probably at least within 24 hours.
Well, I think we will be in touch shortly with the recording, and then also here in the next few weeks, take a look at that handbook, the experiential learning handbook for students. We will be sure to send that out to all of you as well, that for checking in for this presentation. But thank you all so much for joining us. Thank you for your participation. Really hope that this was a valuable session. And if you do have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. And thank you, Dorothy and Christy.
And thank you, Addison.
Thank you, guys.
All right. Take care, everybody. Hope you have a good rest of your day.